Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Hope your 2020 is off to a bang. So what I want to do for this video is I'm going to be doing Viktor. So I've kind of learned from my last few videos, and I think that I've been putting a little bit too much and not really honing in my videos. So in this video, I'm going to try and keep it short, sharp, concise, and only give you the absolute essential information. And if you have any more questions about what I say in the video, leave them below in the comments. First of all, guys, I'm going to quickly run over matchups for Viktor. Good matchups are very much like the slow mid-main mages. These are ones like Orianna, Malzahar, Lux, Azir, Vlad, Anivia, Veigar, all those champions along those lines. And then also some low-range champions such as Akali, Pantheon, even Cassio to a certain extent. And so then there's the 50-50 average matchup. So these can go either way, very much depending on the skill level of each player, and then also depending on the jungle matchup. And these are matchups such as Ryze, Zoe, Kassadin, Kiana, Echo, Yasuo, Fizz, Talon. So they can pretty much go either 50-50 and really depend on a bunch of factors that I'll get into along this video. And the bad matchups, these are ones you really want to avoid as much as you can. Nocturne, Lucian mid, Diana, Twisted Fate, Syndra, Aurelion Sol, and Aurelia. So now let's dive into the runes. So runes, I'm going to keep it very simple, guys. So I've done a lot of testing, but I think these are the absolute best for Viktor. Summoner, the Airy is absolutely essential because it synergizes so well with your Q. And then secondary inspiration with Boots and Biscuits. And I feel like this is the most versatile rune page, and take this with teleport and you're going to be set for pretty much every single laning phase. And in terms of itemization, guys, I've done a lot of testing again. So this is how I feel that the best items for Viktor are Doran's ring start with 2 pots. And the reason is because, again, your laning phase is going to be extended. You don't really want to be basing a lot. So the reason Doran's has that extra mana regen rather than Dark Seal and Corrupting Bolt, it gives you a lot more sustain in the long run of the lane. So Doran start. Then you want to be rushing into upgrading your Hex Core as fast as you can. All 3 upgrades straight away. And then you want to be going Lich Bane or Ludens, either or. Lich Bane, if you pretty much, that's the bread and butter item. But if you're versing a comp that has a lot of high range, so maybe you're versing an Anivia or another high range mid mage, I actually recommend Ludens, because then you're going to be poking with E a lot and not necessarily doing your Q autos. And then after your Lich Bane / Ludens, then you want to be going into either a Zhonya's if you need defensiveness, or a Rabadon's or a Void Staff, just the main key core items that, you know, for every mid mage. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to step you through and commentate a game that I played that is around Grandmaster Challenger Elo that I played today, and I think it kind of demonstrates all the you know, the boxes that need to be ticked when you're playing Viktor in your own game. So strap yourselves in and continue to watch, guys. Alright guys, let's get straight into it. So in this game we're actually versing a Fizz 1-trick. This is high elo, remember, so it's a bit of a tricky game. In terms of jungle matchup, I'm actually versing a Lee Sin, and I have an Echo jungle. First things first, guys. In the whole early laning phase, our first objective is we're actually going to be playing a mini game. And so the way I like to frame it is like we're playing a mini game. And what the mini game is, guys, is we want to get to 1150 gold, which is the first Hex Core upgrade without basing. This is the mini game that I play every single game when I play Viktor. So the mini game in my head is, okay, I want to be balancing, poking, and exerting pressure while simultaneously maintaining my resources to a certain point, so I can ensure that I can get to 1150 gold. And then also, so I need to be paying attention to my mana pool. I need to be paying attention with my vision on the map. I need to be paying attention to my gold level. I need to be paying attention to the amount of health pots I've gotten. And then also, guys, a tip to be able to do this is, you'll notice in terms of managing my mana pool, what I'll be doing is actually trying to use my abilities a lot when my mana flow bands up. And if I kind of like spread out the usage of my abilities when my mana flows up, it will ensure that I don't really go in a way. So in this early laning phase, since I'm versing a Fizz, I don't have to worry too much about kind of like, I just kind of get a free levels 1 to 3 in a way here. But notice how I'm not absolutely spamming abilities. I'm using my E as he walks up to go for creeps, and I'm not using too much mana here. I'm not absolutely spamming. I'm trying to spread out the usage of my abilities, because at the moment, if I pause it, I've only got 265 gold. I still got nearly 1,000 to go, so I still got a long way to go. So in this specific game, if we actually saw there, I warded this dot bush here, and Lee Sin's done a vertical path. So the map's actually going to get split. So Echo's going to go here, I'm assuming, and Lee Sin's on this side. So I know that I can just hug onto the bot side of the lane. So remember, guys, when you're playing any range versus melee matchup, and it doesn't matter if it's Viktor versus Fizz, or Syndra versus Talon, or it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. As long as it's a range versus melee, my objective is to slow build a wave into them and poke them under tower. And because... and so the way you do this, remember, is you want to get a minion advantage by making sure that you auto-attack the minions more than them, which you will generally do naturally because... obviously, it's a lot harder for Fizz to auto-attack the minions without taking too much damage from me than it is for me to auto-attack minions. So far, you can just count the minions here. I've got a big minion advantage, so I'm slow. I'm not absolutely slamming my abilities on the wave. I'm doing it nice and slow, methodically, because the bigger the wave is for me, the more time that I'm going to have to either, you know, use that time while he's CSing under tower to poke him, or force him to miss CS under tower, or use that time to go get deep vision or something along those lines. Constantly looking to use my E. Next thing, guys, here, let me actually go back a little bit here. See, notice how my mana flow is just about to tick, and the reason I actually chose to use my E here, I'm going back one more time, is I'm looking at which minion he's going to go for. So I know that this minion here is very low, and the way he's positioning on the lane makes me think that he's going to go for this creep here. So now what I'm doing is mentally preparing myself. Okay, if he walks up here to go for this minion, I'm just going to zap his little ass. So with my E. So that's kind of how you should approach using your E or your abilities. So Fizz goes up there to auto attack that minion, and straight away, oh sorry, I've moved my camera a little bit. And then here straight away I charge up my E and I get a nice little bit of poke. So that's how I'm going to be navigating this lane as well. But making sure I'm not spending too much mana, and then also auto attacking him if he goes up to auto attack these creeps as well. So I've built myself up a nice little wave here. Lee Sin showed top side, is ganked and actually killed my top laner. An absolutely crucial thing, guys, when you're playing Viktor, sorry, I'm going to pause a lot because I want to go into a lot of detail here, is that you need to focus on CS hardcore. Like, I've barely missed any CS. I'm 17 CS at the moment. I think I've missed like 1 CS or something. And if I have a choice between poking or getting a CS, I always go for the CS, because as Viktor, you need to maximize the amount of gold you're getting in the early game. So now you've noticed how I've got this big wave kind of built up. I'm just auto-attacking the minions whenever I can, whenever he goes up to... See, notice how, again, every single time he's going up to go for a creep, I'm either auto-attacking him or using the ability. But again, I'm still consciously thinking about my mana pool, and because I don't want to run myself completely especially when I'm only at 500 gold. So actually, I want to go back one little bit here. I think this is important. So follow me here. This is a very important micro skill that you guys need to be able to do if you want to play Viktor mid. And I call this like the fadeaway E. You know, in basketball, you have the fadeaway. This is the fadeaway E. So notice here, Fizz is about to go up for one of these minions. He's probably going to go for this minion here because the tower's going to hit the first one as it crashes. And I actually simultaneously like use my E and walk backwards at the same time, because you can actually do that on Viktor. And look at this. See that? Let me go play it one more time, actually. I won't pause it. Notice how on this next E, I walk backwards and E. Like that. Bang. It's the fadeaway E. You really need to know how to do this fadeaway E, because it actually creates a false sense of security for the enemy. So if I like break this down, look at this. If I now, see how I'm walking backwards like this? When I'm walking backwards like this, it's sending a signal to the enemy. Oh, he's letting me get the CS. So then what you can do is you simultaneously walk backwards on the way out. You throw your E this way, and you can create space, tether them, and get nice poke off. So that's something you really need to practice in practice tool or in normal games if you really want to play Viktor mid. So this is advanced Viktor stuff right here, but if you can implement this type of stuff, you're going to be absolutely killing it as Viktor. And again, I'm just utilizing this built wave that I've gotten. And I've built this big wave, and I'm just continuing here to break. Now he's used all 3 corrupting pots. I haven't had to use any of my pots. I missed a few CS. It's not too bad though. But the only problem is now, the reason I don't stay here poking this Fizz under tower right now is because I don't know where Lee Sin is anymore. I know he's probably somewhere on top side, so I actually choose to back up a little bit here, knowing that Lee Sin could be potentially around, and I don't have a ward because I used it level 1. So So I give him a little breathing space here. Now, instead of letting this kind of sit here, I thought Fizz was actually going to base here, so I end up slamming my abilities on the wave to try and get it in. But then Fizz ends up staying here, which is not a big deal because I still have 2 biscuits here I can use for mana, and it's not the end of the world here. So notice I'm on 700 gold here, so I'm getting close to completing my first mini game, guys. And again, Viktor's similar to Kassadin in the sense that it's all about patience. It's all about patience. You really want to avoid using flash or dying before you get your first hex core upgrade. It's absolutely essential. And I was actually going to ward bot side here, but then Lee Sin actually shows top and kills my top laner again. So I'm like, okay, it's just a 1v1, and I'm just constantly poking with auto attacks, using my E when I can. He actually procced his nullifying orb. And I'm in a pretty good spot here. And then I see Fizz actually E away here, which means that I know he's basing. So then I end up just... and I know, though, this is actually quite advanced, so I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I knew that I don't have enough mana and enough time to kill these 3 minions before this next one comes here. So what I actually do, if you actually notice, is I don't just straight away use my abilities on these minions. I wait... And then I use it. And now what's going to happen is that it's a lot easier for me to kill these minions because now the minions are all together when we're killing this one. But whereas before, if I killed those minions really fast, then it would just be these 3 minions would have died straight away to the tower. And then it would have been harder for me to kill these minions. It's not a big deal here, but it's just something little... Don't worry too much if you don't understand it. It's just kind of some advanced stuff. So again, what I'm trying to do is really concentrating on my CS here because I know that if I hit all these CS, or at least 2, yeah, I get all of them. And look at that, perfect amount for me to get a base off for my 1150 gold. Because by the time I base, I can sit in base to regen my mana. I'm going to have 1150. Last thing here, when you're versing roaming champions, this ward is really, really helpful. So if Fizz were to come back, he's already back since he has tempo on me. If he comes back and just gets his wave, I can see which side he roams to, so I can ping him out. And using pings on Viktor is absolutely essential because you don't want to walk into river and roam as Viktor. You want to stay in your lane. You want to play your own game. You don't want to fall into the whole river fights because you're immobile. You have no mobility. Your early damage isn't that good, and you're not good at like having short trades. You're not good at long trades, sorry, in the river. You want to have short trades with your E, utilizing your range. So this ward here can really help me help my team. So then I just recall here, and I get my first upgrade and upgrade my E. So now things are looking really, really good here. So this is my first mini game completed. So whenever I complete my first mini game, I get super happy because I know that the game's going to be going really well. And just a side note before we go any further here, guys, if you don't get to 1150 gold, say something disastrous happens or you don't manage your resources properly, you get ganked, you die. It's not the end of the world. It makes the game a lot harder, but I would just go Darksteel refillable and just try again. Try and get to that thing the next time you get to lane. But yeah, Darksteel refillable is something that I would go down. And since here I haven't used any pots, I don't need to get Darksteel or refillable here. The only problem though with basing on an 1150 gold is that you don't have enough for a pink ward. So ideally it'd be 1215, but I don't have that luxury this game. Or 1225, I don't need to do my maths. 1225, but yeah, I don't have that luxury here. Luckily Lee Sin is kind of camping top, so I kind of get eyes on Lee Sin a lot this game. And again, rinse and repeat, guys, the same thing. Whenever he walks up to CSing, I'm going to be looking to E, using the information of my minion's HP to know which ones he's going to go for, which is going to help me line up my E. And you're going to constantly see me do the fadeaway. I don't know if I did the fadeaway E here. I think I do. I know he's going to go for that one. I actually don't even do the fadeaway E, but you kind of see where I'm coming from here. Using my minion's HP as kind of it's kind of like an indicator of where to aim my E. And you very rarely want to use your W, guys. You really want to be playing on mana conservation, since I know that right now, I actually forgot to say, my second mini game has now begun. So the second objective, guys. So once you come back with your first hex core, the second mini game is what you want to do is use your range advantage, because Viktor pretty much outranges nearly every single mid laner in the game. You want to use your range advantage to accrue small wins. small wins, small advantages. And these are through, you know, maybe you get an E onto them and they don't get any poke onto you. And what will happen eventually is you're going to drain them of all their health pots and their resources. You're going to eventually accrue a big minion advantage. So you're going to have an XP advantage because they're going to miss minions. You're going to have a gold advantage, which means you're going to get more items like across the course of the laning phase. And then also you're probably going to get tower chip. And then eventually when you're starting to poke them out, you're also going to be able to get a lot more river control and ward control, vision control. So this is super, super important. And the reason you want to play this mini game is what this is going to do is extend the game duration. It's going to allow you to get to your next hex core and get you scaling into mid game. And if you play this next portion of the lane too fast, you slam your abilities onto him and then you just die, or you have to blow flash, or you don't get to your second hex core upgrade, or, you know, Fizz gets a kill on me, he can just snowball and roam everywhere. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to play slow, short trades, keep him in lane, but poke him out, poke him out, poke him out. I don't want to freeze. I don't want to let him roam. I want to keep it in the middle / slightly to him, not dying to ganks, and get to my third hex core, which is it's a big amount of gold. It's actually 1800 gold from the first one. So that's the next mini game I'm trying to play here. And again, this is all because Viktor doesn't want to push and roam. He doesn't want to push and dive sides. He really, really needs to play for his own lane, because he needs a slow, nice, controlled game where he can scale up. And again, unfortunately here, I'm actually playing like a little bit of a bitch, purely because I have no idea where Lee Sin is. I have no wards in my inventory. I have no idea where Lee is. So I know that Fizz can just Q onto a minion and then army, and then I'm going to either have to blow flash or I can get 100 to 0'd by Lee and Fizz. And notice, guys, when you're playing Viktor, you need to be extremely vigilant about threat assessment. Because again, you're immobile. There's no way of you dodging abilities. You're going to have to do it like the hard way, manual way, just right clicking, you know, clicking side to side. And if you die, and you blow your since flash is your only form of self-peel, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to play out the game if you have to blow flash to a gank. And notice here, I'm just hitting every single E here. And this again comes with practice. The micro around the E, it's something you're going to have to get used to. But again, how I recommend improving on it is, again, using the minions HP. But then also practicing getting comfortable on using your E and practice tool while moving. Notice how when I'm using E, guys, see how I'm constantly moving. I just want to go back a little bit. Sorry, I'm repeating this. But notice, look at my character here, guys. I'm constantly moving. I'm not making it obvious. If I just walk somewhere, stand still, then E, it's very obvious that I'm going to look for E. But if I'm constantly zigzagging and E-ing at the same time, it adds that little bit of chaos. So notice this, I'm constantly E-ing, using the information about which minion he's going to go for, and bang, I get the nice little E off there. And I'm constantly auto-attacking and using my E, keep him at a tether, because I really, really don't want to, I want to constantly use my range advantage and keep poking him out. So this is where you need to be really, really careful, guys. This is the biggest mistake I see in Victors in pretty much every single elo, is they get sucked into river skirmishes. If you are forced into a river skirmish like this, you need to be very quick about your assessment. If you walk in here, if I say I walk into this river like this right now, I have to be constantly thinking, I can't get out. If I'm in, I'm not getting out, because again, I'm going to either have to blow my flash or I'm going to die because I have no mobility. We're either going to have to turn this fight and 100 to 0 this Lee Sin, or I'm just going to have to straight away back out here. So you really, really need to be careful about any river skirmish and play your own game. And notice here, we just back up. He gets hit, he gets nailed by the cube. There's not much I can do about it. I don't really take too much damage, so it doesn't affect me too much. But again, this Lee Sin's getting kind of fed, which is troublesome for me. But notice how, again, I kept my flash. I'm using communicating with pings, and that's my next tip, guys, for Viktor. Always communicate with pings, especially when playing Viktor, because you don't want to compensate and roam and get into these jungle river skirmishes too much. You want to be playing your own game. So communicating with pings, your intention, and also the location of the enemy team is gonna, that's the least you can do, since you're not playing one of these roaming champions. So you really have to do that here. Notice how I pinged all bot river there, bot jungle, because I didn't know where Fizz was. And it's so funny here in the chat, you can't see it, but the Fizz was like, Can you miss an E just once? Because I think I hit every single E in this laning phase. Like, I poked him. I don't think I missed a single E, which I was pretty happy with this game. And I was joking that I'm saying I'm a robot in game and out of game. So unfortunately here, guys, I actually, the reason I didn't base on 1,000 gold to get my next upgrade is because I had a free recall opportunity. I didn't have much mana, and what I actually thought was, okay, this is actually going to be quite a difficult lane because Lee Sin's so fed. So what I actually did was I recalled quickly for a null magic mantle. Sometimes what I do in these sorts of games, when you're versing if it's an AD assassin, what I'll do sometimes is quickly base for a cloth armor. If I'm versing an AP assassin, a Diana or something like that, sometimes I'll just recall for a null magic mantle. And sometimes that's enough just to survive their burst so they can't kill you. That's not a big deal here. It's just a niche thing I do. I wouldn't worry too much about it. But again, I'm still trying to get to my hex score here. Notice how he ducks out of vision. I instantly try and ward out to find where Fizz is. I put a defensive pink here, and then I use pings here. I try and use the Scry's Bloom to find him, and I'm trying to ping. But again, I'm too late. Fizz gets the roam off. He actually doesn't kill them. I think he blows a flash or something like that. But notice, guys, that is the weakness of Viktor. I can't follow Fizz in these roams. I can't roam to sides. This is where Viktor kind of really struggles in a sense. So the least and I can't even hit tower here because I don't know where Lee is. And if I hit tower, Lee can easily come here and kill me because he's so fed. So that's just the downside of this. Other thing, guys, ideally you really want second blue. My jungle ends up taking it, but there's nothing I can do. But ideally you really need second blue because you're so mana intensive. Lee Sin shows top. And then I knew Fizz used ultimate bot, guys. So what does that mean for me? I'm instantly processing threat assessment. I know Fizz has way less threat on me now because he doesn't have ultimate, so I can play a lot more aggressive. And as well, I'm assessing the jungle location. Lee Sin just died top, so this means I can play a lot more aggressive. And notice here, I'm literally just hitting tower under him right now and end up getting a plate. And this is so big for me. I'm only 850 gold off my next hex core upgrade as well. See the fadeaway E, constantly doing the fadeaway E, using again the minions HP, you know, just fucking destroying him. Flexing on him. I'm like the LeBron James. I'm like LeBron James with Viktor players. Doing these crazy fadeaway shots. I actually don't know shit about basketball, so just ignore my nonsense. So yeah, the lane's going really well. I'm getting closer to my second minigame completion. And this is actually another neat little trick here, guys. Something you can try to do when you want to also go for minions and for poke. Look at this nice little trick I do here. So I get my Q off here. I hit this minion. Now, what does this mean? Well, I really want to kill these next two minions and I want to back up in my lane because Lee Sin's back up, right? So obviously I want to use my range advantage on this guy and look for poke on him, but I also want to get these minions. So what do? I start my E from here and then point it this way. This way, I can actually get the minions and I can get the poke off. And look at this. So I get it there. Bang. Nice little E. So again, being creative with the use of your E. Your E is your bread and butter of Viktor. So really making sure that you're creative with it. You're on point with it. You practice it in practice tool. Practice it a lot and really be hard on yourself with your accuracy. Super important. And now these fights are not too bad for me because again, you know, they're already fighting. I'm coming in from a decent angle. I know Fizz doesn't have ult or like he can't kill me. I feel pretty safe here. So this is a fight that I don't mind doing. And again, and notice here how, guys, I walk back a little bit and then I come forward because I want to keep my distance. When you're playing Viktor, you really want to keep your distance when versing any champion. You don't want to let them get on top of you here. And then I'll go back here just to kind of show it one more time. I walk up here. Echo's forced to ult. I get my E, Q, auto, ult, bang, dead. And I get a nice little kill until... I don't actually get the kill, but Echo ends up getting a nice little kill here. Here, Fizz ends up surviving. Senna actually ults, and I didn't know Senna had ult, but that was a nice little Senna ult. And notice here, guys, I'm getting close to my next hex core. I think I actually stay. Let's see what I do here, though. So I know Fizz has to base. Rakan's trying to like pull the wave or something. I'm just ignoring him getting the wave. I know I don't have enough for my next hex score because my next hex score is 1,800. And then I think I end up recalling because I can't stay anymore. I have no more mana. I don't have blue buff and Fizz ends up basing. So I end up just recalling in. Rakan makes sure I walk up all the way here to basin. He freezes, which is not a big deal against the Fizz because Fizz is not going to freeze anyway. He's going to push and roam. So again, you want to upgrade your Q second. And you do your W second last. And again, notice how I sit on the 600 gold. I actually don't buy anything else. I don't buy anything else, guys. I don't buy, obviously I can't buy boots because I actually have the magical footwear. I don't buy anything else because I really want to save for my third hex core upgrade. And something I remember thinking about, and the reason I sat on this amount of gold is because I knew my teleport was coming up in 10 seconds. So I knew that I could go in lane for a little bit, get the amount of gold, my desired gold amount, and then come back and just recall and TP back to lane with my third upgrade. My CS, and notice guys, my CS this game, I'm around 100 at 11 minutes, so it's pretty bloody good this game for a solo queue match. Now this is a little bit better. I've got my pink ward. I move my pink ward a little bit more aggressive. This is going to allow me to kind of push my limits a little bit more. And I think this was the one time I die this game. And then Fizz gets a nice little... I didn't flash this Fizz ulti because I thought it was just Fizz. And then I saw the Lee Sin and I was like, ah, shit. And then I end up dying. But we end up trading a kill because I end up kind of dragging them pretty far out here. So it was like a 1-for-1. But again, that's really, really not optimal. Purely because I had to flash and I die. So if I go back here, if I were to review this game, I just felt like I was safe because my team was right next to me on bot river. So I guess it's just unfortunate. I think this is just, they really punished me well here. I actually think it was kind of a bad game because if I like dodged that Fizz ult, it was like a max range Fizz ult. I don't know, maybe it was just my bad on my part. But then I remember thinking, oh, okay, it's not too bad because I actually have my TP and I actually get my final Hex Core upgrade, which was really, really big for me. So I get my final Hex Core upgrade. I've got my magical footwear coming online now. I've got my full upgrades. Things are looking a lot better. So I just got to be a little bit careful because, again, I don't have summoners now, which means I'm very, very vulnerable. As Viktor, you constantly need to be thinking about threat assessment. Now I'm constantly just eating the wave, wanting to keep Fizz in lane. I don't want to freeze because, again, if I freeze against a roaming champion, they're just going to roam all over the map and impact the map. I want to constantly either push or keep it in the middle so Fizz cannot roam. So now, guys, I've completed my 2 mini games. I've got to my full Hex Core. This is where I need to be adapting my build, whether I want to go Zhonya's because I'm versing... in this game, I actually go Zhonya's first because I'm versing a very heavy dive comp. I'm versing a Malphite, a Lee Sin, and a Fizz. And I know that I'm going to get dove the shit out of. So Zhonya's actually really, really helps me this game. So that's something you would do against any dive composition. Otherwise, I would have just gone Lichbane. I think I go Zhonya's into Lichbane, into Rabadon's this game, or Void Stuff. I think they had a lot of MR. But in your own game, guys, majority of the time you're going to be going you finish your Hex Core into a Lichbane or a Ludens, as I like kind of refer to. And if you have any questions, guys, about build, just leave them below in the comments. And I ping out where he warded. It's a good habit to get into. And again, notice how I'm constantly pushing in as much as I can. And imagine how annoying this would be for Fizz. He wants to push and move, or he wants to kill me. I'm not giving him that opportunity. And in between waves, guys, since you can't roam, you can actually do Raptors quite well once you've got your upgrade. So what you can do there is you can just, walk and group them up. What I actually do here is I auto the first one, and then I get them in a line like this, and then I E. Because then your E hits through all of them, and then you actually just pump them. And then I see Fizz here, and I think they were doing Dragon. I ping back because I did not want to fight this. I thought this was a really bad fight. So I ended up just getting an E on the back end there to poke him out, but I thought this was a really dodgy fight. So I just want to fight, and the reason I thought that was a dodgy fight is because I had no flash. I didn't want to walk into river. It just felt sketchy. And Lee Sin's really fed, remember? He's like super fed this game. And then skirmishes end up happening bot. It's just me versus Fizz here. He misses his ult. I kind of bait him in there. I didn't even mean to bait him, but I ended up baiting him in. I like walked forward and yeah. Fizz goes on me. I ult. And remember, guys, when you ult, if you ult on top of someone, it will actually follow them, which is quite cool. I think I must have accidentally stopped it. Then we end up just winning this 2v2. Nothing special here. I get my nice max range E into auto attack. And remember, guys, since the change on Viktor, the Hex Core, the reason why Hex Core upgrades is so good as well is because you don't buy Rylos anymore because it has the inbuilt slow on the 3rd upgrade now, which is really, really cool. And Echo ends up taking blue. So great, I haven't got a single blue this game, guys. So I was a little bit salty, but not much you can do about it. And this guy's saying, I'm sorry. It's all good, dude. Chill. Alright, so I end up pinging Fizz. He ends up... I said notice here because I'm spamming pings. I'm telling Fizz is roaming bot. Telling him Fizz is roaming bot. He ends up not roaming bot here, but again, it's better to be safe than sorry. And I'm working towards my Zhonya's. I buy a stopwatch and my Fiendish Codex. They end up respecting bot, which is a good bot lane. And Fizz doesn't get the roam off, which is, I'm really happy with. And that's what you really need to get in the habit, guys, of playing when you're playing any of these immobile mages like Viktor or Xerath or blah, 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 Orianna. You need to be on top of your pings. And I know I'm reiterating the same concepts, but again, it's harder than you think when you're in game, when it's getting chaotic. It's just a really good habit to get into. And it's what wins games, honestly. It's all the small things when they add up. And now again, my game plan has not changed. All I want to do now is continue. And the reason, you may ask, guys, you may be asking, so how are you going to win the game, Curtis, if all you're doing is stopping Fizz from roaming? But that is winning the game. I remember I was watching an LS review of Viktor, and it's the same thing. Because Viktor scales insanely well into mid to late game in team fights and in 5v5 fights. And if you're scaling and getting through your laning phase and having nearly perfect CS, I have 140 CS at 15 minutes, I'm going to be absolutely out of control, and I end up doing so much work this game because I just farmed, kept Fizz down in lane, end up scaling into mid to late game. And this is how you win games on Viktor. It's not by making a chaotic early game, it's by playing a smooth, cool, calm, collected game. And by him not getting roams off, it means I'm winning, period. If I'm farming and he's not stopping me from farming, I'm winning. So that's that. That's kind of how you want to really approach the mindset of playing Viktor as well. And notice here, I don't know what I actually do here, sorry. Oh, so I remember here. So this is where, once the game starts to get into this weird period, there's not much I can do here. I couldn't get Raptors, I couldn't get midway, so I'm just kind of hovering out of vision here. There's not much I could have done, so I'm just really hovering. There's really nothing I can do in between these waves. Fizz ends up roaming onto bot river, and Ezreal ends up coming mid. So this is something where you're going to struggle with in solo queue on Viktor. What you want to be doing is staying mid lane as much as you can. And the reason you want to stay mid lane as much as you can is because Viktor is terrible in the side lane, because again, you have no mobility, you're not a side laning champion. Your wave clear is so good, so you can actually keep mid tower up for so long. If the enemy send their bot lane mid, you can just wave clear against them and they can never get mid tower a lot of the time. The other thing here, guys, is that, generally what would happen is that bot lane would get their tower. I'll draw on the minimap here. Generally, bot lane would get their tower, and then I would tell, bot lane just go top, and then they would get top tower. But what's actually happened here is that the top lane has actually got their top tower, but my bot lane hasn't got their tower. So I have no idea why Lucian's actually our top lane has come bot. What should happen right now is Ezreal should be staying bot. We should be playing for this tower. Lucian should be staying top, pushing all the way out, and then helping me push mid, and then we can translate our pressure bot. So what happened this game, it got all messed up. But majority of your games, guys, all you need to know is that you want to be staying mid as long as you can, and then playing around objectives as a team. Once you get to mid to late game, you can be catching waves in the side, but you don't want to be staying in the side. You want to be like pushing and moving and playing with your team, using your team's vision. And ideally, my main objectives, again, keep Fizz, keep farming Raptors whenever I can. And ideally, what I want to be doing as well is just waiting for the next objective fight. Because I'm super strong now. I've got my my stopwatch, sorry. I've got my Hex Core. I'm farming up a Storm. I know Dragon's coming up in around a minute or so. So I didn't really want to go to a side lane. I just want to continually push out waves mid and play around my team and play for a 5v5 team fight around objectives. That's what I want to do. I don't have blue, which is again unfortunate, and again you can kind of see how having blue would be so good for both my poke with the CDR and then also the mana, but it is what it is. It was a bit rough. And as the game kind of continues to to get like this type of state and slow, cool, calm, collected solo queue match is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm playing Viktor. So this sort of game I'm super happy with. And then we end up getting a pick on Lee, which then results in us being able to kind of chill. And again, notice how I'm not going to the side lane here, guys. I'm constantly sitting in river, sitting around mid, because I know Dragon's coming up very, very soon in like 40 or 30 seconds. So I'm preemptively staying in the location where I need to be. So again, ideally this whole time, our top laner would be top and our AD carry would be bot, but it was just a little bit messed up. Being on mid wave as fast as I can, grouping up the minions so I can get my E through all of them. Maintaining mid priority as much as we can. A little bit awkward because I wasn't sure whether the enemy team were going to kind of contest us on this dragon or not. So I was just staying around here even though Malphite was showing top. So here, I know guys, is like this game, this portion of the game is a little boring, but I think it's important to show because a lot of Victors I see as well, I've watched a lot of replays, they tend to try and do crazy shit. They're not happy with just playing slow, cool, calm, collected. And then when you start doing crazy shit and you get frustrated with the slow pace of the game, then maybe Victor's not for you, and that's where like mistakes start to happen. And then yeah, we end up breaking mid tower, which is really, really good. While we're on the topic of breaking mid tower, guys, when playing Viktor, you really want to ensure, like, at all costs, keep your mid tower alive. If for some reason you lose your mid tower earlier in the game, it is absolutely terrible for Viktor. Because then you lose all control around mid, you have nowhere to go because mid lane basically turns into another side lane because the lane's so long. And then you end up having to catch waves at your tier 2 tower, and then you get super far behind, and then the game turns into a disaster. So try and keep the mid tower alive as much as you can at all costs. So now we've got this tower, and now I can start going into the side lane a little bit now because the map's opened up. We've got the enemy mid tower. My jungler's going to come up and help me defend. I knew that I was completely fine here. Like I've got my Zhonya's now. I know I'm quite safe. And then they end up sending their whole team here pretty much. But I think I end up living here. Malphite ults me, it's not a big deal. I'm just peeling back. Q, auto, and ends up Zhonya's here, thinking that Lee Sin was actually going to insect me back. Again, constantly using my abilities off cooldown. Nothing too special here. Max range E. Playing around my E cooldown as much as I can. Trying to tether and keep my range as much as I can as well. Put my W down. End up stunning him and getting a nice little Q off here on the back end. Bit chaotic here, nothing too special. This is just standard, Viktor gameplay. But in terms of things that are replicable, end up getting this blue. Now I've got my Sork treads, and now I'm like really online here. It's 20 minutes in the game. This is where you can't really sit mid anymore. Now, like the AD carry generally is going to be sitting mid, and now what I want to be doing ideally is pushing out the side lane and then grouping with my team around objectives. That's pretty much what I want to be doing for the rest of the game here. Pushing out. I know that I can push out here because I know like Fizz is bot and like Lee Sin doesn't have threat on me anymore. And now what I want to be doing is constantly now grouping mid for control with the team. And getting that vision down with the team. And it is important to catch sideways because if you don't and you just mindlessly share XP mid, then that's when you're going to get really far behind. And now that I'm back mid, they can never break mid because my wave clear is just so insane. And that's, again, a huge strength of Viktor. And keeping that mid tower up is super important just for your team, but mainly for Viktor. Putting my vision around topside because Baron's up in his 21 minutes or nearly 22 minutes. And again here, I'm just trying to look for I was actually looking for enemy raptors. I'm trying to look for poke anywhere. This is where it gets a little bit awkward. And then I decided, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go straight back top. They don't need me mid. There's nothing I can do mid. And then get spotted on a pink. And then I'm not compensating and then grouping mid and sharing XP. I really want to make sure that I'm constantly farming a wave wherever it is because as Viktor, since farm and items are so important, you need to be constantly on the ball. And then I see them fully commit bot. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stay top here. While I'm top, like that's a concept I always talk to in my videos, guys. When you go to a lane, A lot of the time, push it all the way out. That's how you kind of get ahead and farm in mid game. And then I'm like, all right, if you're gonna go get bot tower, I'm just gonna stay top for top tower. And then Echo, I see Echo end up coming. Since something that you can do here, guys. Before what I did, I saw Malphite here on top, and look what I do. I press tab, and then I check his items, and then I actually ping Iceborne and Tarbies. And why did I do that? Is because I know that I'm a full AP champion. He has 0 MR, and he's versing an Echo and a Viktor right here. So now I'm consciously thinking, what does that mean for me? That means that I have a lot more threat on Malphite than other champions. So it's a really good habit to get into, especially when you get into mid game, is when you're looking at your targets and who you should be killing, checking who has resistances. This is also important for you in terms of your itemization. Maybe if they were stacking MR, I would just go next item Void Staff. But why it was important in this specific instant is because if I'm matching this guy in the side lane, I need to know how much damage I can do to this guy. And then I realize how squishy he is, and then I just do a full combo, ult him, and he's forced to ult. Now, Malphite's completely useless without ultimate. End up staying here, and Echo ends up cleaning him up. He ends up flashing as well, and then we end up getting top tower and trading towers on either side of the map here. He ends up getting bot tower, which is a little bit annoying, but there's nothing I can really do. We end up just trading towers. I don't get inhib, which is not a big deal. Next thing I was thinking was, okay, well, I just want to now group with my team around an objective. And the next objective that's coming up is this dragon. So what I want to be doing now is I actually end up walking here and typing in chat, group mid. And now this is where it's really important to, okay, in these little fights here, what I recommend as Viktor is I recommend being consciously thinking, if they walk into these chokes, you can use your W to block them out from walking in, and you can also use your ultimate if they walk in too far, and you can also use your E. Since like Viktor, like a lot of his abilities are AoE, you should be consciously putting yourself in a position where, again, you're not able to get dived, keeping your range and your tethering your range, but then also consciously thinking these choke points are really good for me. So that's what I was consciously thinking around these objectives. And then I see the mid, so I know that they weren't contesting. But notice how this is really something that's conscious in my mind, is I really want to be playing around these objectives because there's more choke points, there's more things. It's a straight 5v5. My front line's going to be there. I'm not going to be kind of cut off on the side. I'm going to be with my team. It's exactly what I want in terms of Viktor's identity as a champion. And now, fast forward a little bit. Now it's just we're jockeying for control 5v5 around mid. And this is exactly what I want. But notice here how much I'm respecting Malphite. I'm really, really respecting Malphite. Not because of his damage, but because if he ults me and they can like somehow, you know, Fizz can Q through a minion then ult me, or MF can then follow up damage. I don't know. I know that consciously Malphite engage range is really big. So I am very much respecting Malphite, and I'm constantly thinking about threats. And then they kind of split up too much, and my team ends up shredding them on a back end. I get it like an E off on the Malphite here, and we just end up chasing them out. And right now I'm sitting on the other side of the pit right now, waiting for because Lee Sin ends up surviving. So I want to keep the jungler out. And this is also something Viktor's also really good at, because he has so much zone control. I see Lee Sin, bang, use all my abilities on him and push him all the way out so he can't get Baron. And then we end up getting Baron. And this game ends up being pretty easy from now on. I mean, let me just fast forward a little bit. Again, it's the same thing, rinse and repeat. I push out. My team ends up like inting a little bit here. Kind of fast forward a little bit. Oh yeah, so I end up trying to defend this inhib like 1v3. So a good habit to get into. What I should have done here is I actually misused my W. So what you can do when you're versing dive champions is, what I should do right now is put my W on me right now. And then, or slightly on me, and then walk through it. So then I walk to here, and then they have to also walk through it. So that's something you can do. And then end up just kind of kiting them out. I end up killing Rakan and getting a lot of damage off onto this MF, but they survive. Anyway, it's the same thing now, rinse and repeat. I'll show you one more fight here, actually. I think it's important. again, around these objectives, what I'm constantly thinking is assessing the enemy threat. Since I have no flash, I have no Zhonya's actually. I knew this was a really important dragon. This was the 3rd ocean dragon for us, which is pretty big. And I'm not getting myself in the pit because, again, if I'm in the pit, I'm going to be super immobile. If I'm on this side, I'm not going to be able to damage. So I'm trying to maneuver myself around as much as I can so I can get my damage off while not getting dived. And then I see them here, and I use my ult here. I thought they were all in this bush, but they weren't. These are really tough fights for Viktor when it's not a straight front to back. Because when the fights are split, it can be quite tricky here. And then Malphite, for some reason, tries to burst me. And then the game just gets a little bit sloppy. I end up trying to TP. I nearly end the Nexus. But we end up cleaning up this game in the end. And I end up like popping off, having a really good score, end up being very impactful. So I think I've kind of got over the main objectives or the main points for Viktor for you guys. I've tried to keep it short, a lot more short, sharp, and concise, and kind of go over the main points that you need to know if you want to pick up and play Viktor or master Viktor. There's a lot of in-depth stuff here on Viktor. If you have any questions or I've skipped over things too fast, feel free to leave questions below, either in my Discord channel that is in the description or in the comments below, just straight in the YouTube comments section. So cheers, thanks for watching, and have fun playing Viktor, guys. Cheers.